and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be painting a Space Marine head, notably the new head from the Indominus box set for the new Chaplain. So what we're going to do is we're going to first base coat this, and we want to use some Cadian Fleshtone, and as you can see I've primed the miniature with some Codex Grey, Glaze here. But what I'm going to do is going to get a little bit on the end of my brush of Bugmans Glow, and I'm just going to mix it into my Cadian Fleshtone. I just want to sort of darken the Cadian Fleshtone just a little bit. Next, nice thin layers all over the whole face, like so. Not to worry too much about being tidy at this stage, because obviously you're just getting the base coats down. This is a mini holder that I picked up off Kickstarter a few years ago, with a little bit of wire and the pin, and just pin using the pin vise, and just drilling a hole in the bottom and then leaving it on there. So what you're going to do is you want to get a good, nice solid coat of that on, and then next we're going to let that dry. And while it dries, I'm going to get a mix of Kislev Flesh, and I'm just going to wash over it, and then I'm going to blow dry it. So I'll get all that done now and we'll be right. So that's me now back. So what I've done is I've done a base coat of the Cadian Fleshtone with a little bit of Bugmans Glow, and then I've mixed some Kislev Flesh with 1 part contrast paint, 3 parts medium, and then washed over the whole head, and then I've allowed it to dry, and I'm now ready to go. So what I want to do now, before we do anything with the miniature, we need to get the eye done. And first, before we say anything, if you hear any noises in the background like banging or drilling, it's because there's a lot of work being done to my building at the moment, and it's just something I can't help really. So just with the thin brush, let's just get the eye done. And if we do it now, what that means is we can then tidy up afterwards. So that's the eye. And if you really want to, you can also get a little bit of black. Nice little bit of black on the end of your brush. I'm using my trusty size 0 from Rosebery Co. Series 33. And this is really nerve-wracking, and job done. Okay, so what this allows us to do now is just work on the face. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the original color that we had at the start, our base color, and we're just going to start by building up the highlights. Now this is an interesting head because half of this is going to be metallic, and we're going to come back and sort that shortly, but we want to now just build up our highlights. And you want to concentrate on the prominent points, so the uppermost layers. And we're going to be doing some glazing and things like that anyway, just to shade areas even more and get a little bit more definition. So just do this. These little parts here, these are fine. What you can do is you just use your base coat and just tidy them up. But it's not a major issue if it's pooled like that. You can stop that by basically, when you do put the wash over, just by making sure that you pick them out with a brush. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get some pure Cadian Fleshtone, making sure it is 100%, that you've thinned it slightly with a bit of medium or water. And you want this to be quite thin because you want it to be quite transparent. And then you just want to build up the layers again. So here, just bring the tip of the brush up. You just bring up those highlights slightly. Like so. And what you can do is you keep doing this until you build up full opacity with the Cadian Fleshtone. It won't take long because you're almost there anyway with your original base coat. And you just want to build that up. You can already see the highlights starting to come out nicely. Like so. And then on the side, just pull in the pigment where you want it, basically onto the top of the head. So nice thin layers. Then what you want to do is get a little bit of Kislev Flesh, and then mix that into your Cadian Fleshtone. And then again, start picking out the more prominent points. So the prominent points are the top of the eyebrows here, like so. The underneath the eye, the top of the cheekbones, this little sort of nicket here, and then the top of the forehead, like so. And then you can do underneath the lip and on the chin. And that's your main areas of highlighting. You want to sort of build those areas up. You can do this down here as well, on the side of the nose. Okay. Again, with the top of the head, thin layers. Like so. And then again, mix in some more Kislev Flesh. So you're now more at almost at a 60-40 Kislev Flesh, Cadian Fleshtone. And then back in again. You want to concentrate these highlights on the uppermost. Very carefully, just bring that down. You can do these little parts there as well, but you're really wanting to concentrate on the sort of the highest points of the miniature. And then here. Okay, it's looking pretty decent. So if you wanted, at this stage, there's nothing stopping you from stopping. You could easily end it here if you really wanted to. That is a good enough tabletop standard. And you do obviously do the rest of the details. But we don't want to do tabletop standard. We want to do some amazing looking faces so people stop and stare at our miniatures. Like so. So what I'm going to do off camera quickly is I'm going to black out all of the areas that are not flesh tone. and we're going to get ready for doing some more highlights and sort of more defining stuff, so some shadowy glazes. So I'll be right back. So as you can see, I've blacked everything out that's not going to be flesh. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a pure Kislev Flesh, and we're going to put an extreme highlight in on all of the areas. So again, Kislev Flesh, it's thinned down slightly, and then what you want to do is this extreme highlight needs to be on the most extreme prominent areas. Just feather that out, and then on the top of the cheeks, like so. This little bit here underneath the eye. Just pick out the highest points. And before we finish off the skin and start moving on to other things, I'm just going to add some really nice glazes just to define some areas. Like so. You can, if you wanted, run some Kislev Flesh along the edge of the scar, but that's probably best to do that once the metallics are done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some Bugmans Glow, a little bit, thin it with water so you get a little bit of a glaze, and I'm also going to take a little bit of Screamer Pink and mix that into the mix. And very carefully, I'm going to make a little bit of a glaze. And what I want to do with that glaze is I just want to run it along the bottom lip, just like this. Okay. Now what you can do is where you can see the tongue just here, just pick that out with some Screamer Skull. With some I have completely just went blank. With some Screamer Pink, and then with your glaze mix for the lip, just bring it across just to get some colour into that lip. For the teeth, all I'm going to use is some Ulthan Grey, and carefully just do the teeth. Like so. And then with the lip, a little bit more Screamer Pink in there, and just over the top of the lip. Like so. And then with some Bugmans Glow, just very thinly, just draw some lines along the edge of it. And then with some Cadian Fleshtone, just do the same. Okay, for your more extreme highlights, you want to get some, oh, I didn't actually put any on my palette. You want to get some Screamer Skull, and with your Screamer Skull, just mix it into your Kislev Flesh, and we're going to start putting the extreme highlights on. again, prominent at the top of the nose, the eyebrow. Space Marines somehow don't seem to have eyebrows. Just underneath the eye, top of the cheek, a little dot there, a nice thin line here, and then very carefully just follow the contour of the face. Go down here as well, and already you'll see that face really starting to pop as you get the highlights on. And then again, this side of the lip, just follow it down, nice thin edge highlight, and then very carefully that side. Make sure you do that side of the nose, and then on top of the chin. Okay, and then for the final, most extreme highlight, you can actually with it, we'll thin that last highlight down a little bit, and then what we'll do is we'll just lightly bring it over the top here, on the top of the forehead. Just feather that out. Okay. And then with the final highlight, just using a little bit of Screamer Skull, thin it down slightly, and this is the most extreme of highlights. And again, top of the nose, top of the brow, follow the contour of the eyebrow, the eye just underneath. Games Workshop, when they sculpt eyes, they sculpt like a little raised eyelid at the bottom. It's very good to, if you can get that. If you haven't got the hand-eye coordination and you haven't got the brush control yet, you can ignore that highlight. Like so. And what you want to do is just bring that up very carefully, and then the final highlight along the top of the chin, and that is basically the highlights done, and it looks great. But if you want to add a little bit of definition, what you can do is get a little bit of Bugmans Glow and thin it down to a glaze, and then with your glaze, when you do a glaze, you want it to be a bit like that thin. What you want to do is just glaze into the shadows here, like so, and then at the back of the head. Like so. And what this will do is it'll just give a little bit of definition to your model and just make it just look awesome. Especially this little glaze on the temple here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the metallics and all the blacks finished, and then I'll show you it attached to the miniature that it's going to be going on to, and you'll see the end result. So I will be right back. And as you can see, this is attached to the body and it's looking awesome. Obviously this miniature still needs to be finished off. There's the weapons and a few bits and pieces to do, but it's almost done. So you can really see sort of how the highlights are standing out now and how really cool it looks. And I hope you really like it. This is a pretty quick video. So I'm glad I've got it done, and it kind of sort of progresses the sort of Space Marine side of things that I want to do. I've got a lot of new videos coming very soon. Lots more Space Marines, obviously some Crisis Protocol from Marvel, and a few other bits and pieces. So yeah, really chuffed. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you're notified when I upload new videos. I try to upload a video at least once a week. That is my aim, and now work's got a little bit more settled, I aim to try to stick to that. And you can also follow me over on Facebook, on Instagram, and I am on Twitter. So thank you very, very much for your support, and please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.